Spider-Man has officially come to Magic the Gathering. But why? In this video, we're going to talk about why some Universes Beyond sets work and why some just don't belong. Plus, I'll tell you which commanders from this set might actually be worth building and which cards could go nicely in the 99 of your decks. Are you ready? Now dig on. Welcome back to SADGIC The Gathering. Like Prometheus, I am permanently and eternally your host. This set review might just look a little bit different than previous set reviews I've done in the past. Because in this video, I want to talk about Universes Beyond, and specifically why this specific set just doesn't sit well with me. And I know I'm not alone. Magic the Gathering players are a pretty noisy bunch, which is good. And while I know there will always be a portion of Magic players who say that anything Universes Beyond sucks, and another portion of Magic the Gathering players who say when it comes to Universes Beyond, anything goes. I think a lot of Magic the Gathering players have the same opinion on Universes Beyond, which is, it depends. And I really don't want to sound like a crotchety old man screaming at cars, speeding too fast down a street.
I love the young people.
But I am struggling with the Spider-Man set for two main reasons. First, it's a surprise to no one that Magic the Gathering is a high fantasy TCG with wizards and spells and dragons and far off planes and whatever this thing is. And Spider-Man is New York City, and it's taxi drivers and hot dogs and pigeons and whatever this is. It's just so far away from the core of the game, and it just feels wrong, you know, like
Santa Claus taking a shower.
But I think that's why people are kind of on board with sets like Warhammer and Lord of the Rings and even the upcoming Avatar set. It just kind of makes sense from a lore and a world building perspective. It works and lends itself well to sort of the pre-made rules and art and systems and templates that exist within Magic. And I get that Magic can sort of bend and stretch to accommodate all kinds of planes and IPs that are unique, like Kaladesh or Kamigawa and Warhammer. But Spidey just feels overtly incompatible. And while the Through the Omen Path versions are a huge breath of fresh air, we can't enjoy them in physical form. And it just feels like we are forced to face this big identity shift for Magic that was usually left to the fringes of the game. It's now front and center. But okay, so it looks different. Big deal, right? There's plenty of space in Magic the Gathering for weird stuff, right? You know, Fortnite, Street Fighter, Pregnant Sonic. It can work here, right? Yeah, it can. But that brings me to reason number two. Spider-Man and future Marvel sets, and honestly future Universes Beyond sets, are quickly rising to replace the safe haven that was standard sets and affordable Magic products. And I think what just bugs me so bad about all this is that I feel like Wizards was really close to having Universes Beyond figured out. Sets and cards like Doctor Who, Jurassic Park, Fallout, Assassin's Creed, that are all kind of out there from a fitting into Magic standpoint, could work because of the way that they were presented. They lived outside the main product pipeline as one-offs, as commander deck sets, as mini sets, and especially as secret layers. And that, in my opinion, is what Universes Beyond should only ever be. It's on the side if you want it, but it's easy to disregard. They're supposed to let standard sets shine because standard sets are supposed to be this gateway for both new and old players to enjoy affordable Magic. No insane markups, a variety of ways to play the game, and an amazing place for original storytelling to take place, both with beloved Magic characters and new stuff and new planes. And it just feels like we're getting less and less and less of that. I may be wrong, but I think what started to happen is Wizards of the Coast looked at their long list of Universes Beyond collaborations and said, we got a lot of stuff to get through here. And these Universes Beyond sets are seemingly making us way more money than the in-universe stuff. We're going to need to prioritize them and bump them up in the schedule instead of doling them out in little bits here and there. And hey, I will say that I do think there is room in Magic the Gathering for stuff like Spider-Man. Guess I just wish that it didn't feel like such a blatant replacement of what has made Magic feel like Magic for the last 30 years. But hey, at the end of the day, I will always be glad when a set brings in new players to the game, even if it's a set that I don't love. Okay, enough soapbox bullsh. Let's be analytical about things and talk about how this set plays. For new mechanics, let's start with web slinging. Web slinging is an alternative cost that allows you to cast a spell, which is usually a little bit less, if you return a tapped creature you control to your hand. This mechanic is fine. It feels like a less sneaky ninjutsu maybe. There are definitely some decks that I think could benefit from this, and I can see this being super useful with stuff like mana dorks, but nothing too exciting. Sorry, Pete. Next up is Mayhem. Mayhem is also an alternative casting cost that allows you to cast spells from your graveyard if you discarded them this turn. Definitely happy to be getting more discard outlets, but because timing rules still apply, it feels just like a slightly less good version of Madness. However, I do see this working alongside a lot of pre-existing discard commanders, so I think there's a lot of stuff here to get excited about. Connive and Modified are both back, which is great because they're super useful and awesome keywords. I feel like Connive has got to be one of my favorite keywords ever. Isn't that right? Ledger Shredger. It also looks like Aura players have a lot of goodies in this set, which is fun, you know? Those guys need a win. Okay, let's talk about 4 commanders that I think are actually worth running from this set. But because I am a mildly embittered Magic the Gathering player and I really like the Through the Omen Path versions, I'm just going to pretend that I'm recommending those versions to you, okay? Weirdly enough, none of the Spidey heroes made it onto this list. It's all villains.
I like that, Spider-Man!
Number 1 is Eddie Brock. His front side is pretty solid and pretty straightforward, but his back side is where it's at. He's expensive and he has to attack, but he's got haste and comes with a flood of great benefits. You're going to be sacking and drawing a ton and throwing something onto the battlefield for free, which is really fun. And I feel like with enough setup and all the options you have in your hands, this deck can really do some great work. Next up is Norman Osborn. Love the little connive action on the front there, but the backside really opens things up for discard and graveyard players. Giving things mayhem is solid enough, but cheapening everything by 2 is really tasty. I think if you're discarding enough with outlets and cheap spells, you're going to be dumping stuff onto the battlefield all game long. Then we've got Electro, which is shockingly great. It's nice to give Bergie a little company in this space and maybe push her design into a slightly different direction with more payoff. This is such a fun burn spell slinging mono commander. It's one of those decks that will thrive with X spells, but also a great place to put a ton of cheap red comment that you can sort of just chain onto each other. You love to see it. Last on the list is Mr. Negative. There is a lot of life gain, life drain commanders out there, but I don't really feel like I've ever seen one with this design. I think it's pretty cool. That card draw is definitely really nice. And he's got white, so you should definitely be blinking it. But if you set up your board with stuff like Soul Conduit, Magus of the Mirror, you're going to be bouncing your dwindling life around in a really fun and kind of evil, weird way. It's a little kooky, and I'm on board. Now, what should you be putting in your decks from this set? I found 4 cards that I think really work in the 99 of most any deck, honestly. First up is Imposter Syndrome. This card will do great anywhere, but I think it will shine in Legends Matter decks, in combat heavy decks, and in token decks, obviously. It's such a big effect, and putting doublers with it is a no-brainer. And honestly, I'm surprised we haven't seen this type of card sooner. It's splashy, and it's a great way to boost your end game. I think you should run it. Next up is the obligatory mention of the Soulstone. People are throwing around the word staple a lot with this card, and I feel like time will tell on that. I'm not ready to jump quite into that space with it yet. But a 2-cost black mana rock with a graveyard bring back ability built in is pretty hard to ignore. It can go in any deck, so I feel like I gotta mention it. Then we've got Multiversal Passage. Now, if you want to start mentioning staples, let's talk about this card. It's a more accessible and more focused version of a Shockland, which I think is pretty awesome. If by some miracle this card stays affordable, I think you got to pick it up and run it in any multicolor deck. Lastly is Spider Sense, which feels like a fun take on a swan song type card with an alternative cheaper cost that doesn't feel like it has a ton of downside. Like I said, in a lot of decks, web slinging is going to be really useful. And it definitely excites me to have more viable competitive options in the 2-mana counterspell category. All right, let's be real here. If I'm going to put this thing on a scale from God mode to bad, bad, not good, I'm going to put it in the solid to meh category. Aside from the fact that this set is not my cup of tea, and it's disrupting a lot of good things in the Magic space, like standard sets and pricing, this set just doesn't maybe feel as strong as other Universes Beyond sets. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't see it having the same impact as other Universes Beyond sets that sort of were able to branch out into non-Universes Beyond play spaces. It seems to be banking a little too hard on Marvel love and Spider-Man nostalgia. Again, hey, if you love this set, I am so happy for you. And I already said how this set is making me feel like this.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
But I will just focus on what I am hyped and happy about. I do unfortunately find myself hoping that this set doesn't break a ton of records as far as sales go. And I hope that it finds its audience, but that it's a more niche audience so that Wizards can take a good look at itself and say, do we really want to be turning Magic into something else? I just hope that Wizards and Hasbro use this as an opportunity to pause and consider not jamming these types of sets down our throats for the next 5 years. And that is the review. What do you think of the Spider-Man set? Am I a curmudgeonly old fart who's just focusing on the wrong things, or is this set legitimately bad for Magic? I'm curious to know where everyone is at, so please sound off in the comments and let me know where you're at with this set and Marvel sets and future Universes Beyond sets as a whole. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Bless you all. Follow SADGIC for more magic. We'll see you next time.